Okay, hi, hello, and welcome to Cartoon Academy Class 12, I believe. This class, we are going to develop a little bit more of a theory of cartoon bodies. If you're new here, stick around, hang out. We are 12 classes into what is described as a 24 class trajectory, and there may be some modification to that coming up, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We may be changing plans slightly. I'm here to teach you just some of what I think about drawing. My name is Cartoon Ray, and in these sessions that we've worked on so far, I've talked about basically my fundamental philosophy for all of art is that you need to not be critical until you're done with the work. So when I draw circles, if I'm sitting here going, oh, I screwed up before I even complete the circle, I can't really do a good job. It's not really possible for me to focus on what I'm doing while also telling myself I'm doing it poorly or even doing it well, just leaving the thought process out of it until I'm done. And then I go, okay, look, I see that circle was not perfect. Now I look over there, I see this little error where I kind of crossed over. It's no big deal, but I try to leave the criticism out until I'm done with something. Complete your work and then look at it and say, what would I do differently? How could I do that better? In this class, the main thing I've really tried to get you to do is to think about when you're drawing something, when you're drawing a circle, you can just draw a simple circle, but I want you to be thinking about it as a sphere. In your mind, it's better to me you just draw the outline of the circle, but I want you to imagine the space around it. What is the actual, if this was a three-dimensional shape, what are the curves that define the edge of the circle really like? Right in the middle, you'll just have a flat line because that's what the equator or a straight line around the Earth looks like when you look at it straight on. But at any angle, you're going to wind up having a curve. And that's a really important thing, just imagining the curve of a sphere when you are drawing it. Anytime you're drawing a cartoon character, if you think about if you just think about Sonic the Hedgehog, I almost said Sonic the Hedgehog as a bunch of flat shapes, you can still do a fine drawing of Sonic the Hedgehog. But what I want you to be doing, and I think it'll help you, is to be thinking about the three-dimensional character that you're drawing. Right, we're drawing in 2D. Sonic the Hedgehog, this guy we're drawing, he exists in a three-dimensional world. So it helps to imagine the shapes. So imagining if his head is fundamentally a circle, if we imagine the roundness there, we imagine the curves of the sphere that is Sonic the Hedgehog's head shape. And these curves can help us determine what would be the right lines to add, the right places. If I want to give him a big eye and I'm imagining those curves, then I can kind of say, I might even curve that eye a little bit because, I don't know if you can see there, I've tried to make it a little bit curved because that sort of detail, over here it might be like that. It makes it feel like things that are on the surface of a flat drawing might actually be curved. So another way to think about that is I draw this circle down here, and all I've drawn is a circle, but if I think of it as a sphere, then when I decide to put, say, a happy face on it, I might start to be able to draw in a way where my lines are a little bit more reflective of the spherical nature of my picture that I'm trying to create than simply being flat on the surface. You're probably used to drawing the head on, smiley face, and the thing I'm pushing you to think about doing is, the reason I drew these is I'm imagining the curves. So this line I might still be relatively flat feeling although it might be a little bit kind of curved out at the bottom. And this one I'm trying to make look as though it kind of curves around the shape. I'm not saying this is a masterpiece, but it's kind of the thing I'm trying to describe. Think about the three-dimensionality of your shapes. So, you know, if it's Sonic, again, you could think about how his eyes are going to fit on that curve. Okay, three-dimensionality. Oops, sorry, I drew him a bit off camera, I apologize. Three-dimensionality. In the past couple classes, we've been talking about how to draw, sorry, I didn't mean to kick the camera stand, how to draw bodies. And my basic pitch to you has been circle for body, circle for head, curved lines for legs, and curved lines for arms. And this to me remains a really good way to just kind of loosen up your drawings. I think a lot of people make the mistake of starting with just a classic stick figure, and a classic stick figure doesn't leave you a lot of options. It also doesn't account for the width of the hips or the widths of the shoulders. And this comes to the same thing where I've been having you draw this body, and I want you to be thinking about it as spherical. You know, the head is a sphere and the body is a sphere, so that if you were to turn your character, you can still, you know, you could draw, if I drew this guy from the side, he might look kind of like this. I'll give him a nose over here so that I can draw the nose on the front. Same dotted line going around, but instead now the dotted line is in front, dotted line going across, dotted line in front, and then these legs might go like that. So I want to push off of that concept a little bit today. For anyone who's drawing along, thank you. That's awesome. Okay, so here we go. That basic guy looks like this, right? Body, leg. I know I say to do curves, but it's okay if the legs are dropping down straight right now. And arm, head. Okay? Next to him, I'd like to, instead of a circle, let's draw the square for the torso. Okay? So now, when the arms come down, they're going to come off of those two upper corners, and the legs are going to come off of the lower corners. Head is still a circle. Okay, so the one thing I like about this transition over to the square is that it gives the shoulders a little bit more of a place to land. You might also consider doing the same thing, but having square shoulders and a rounded lower body. That's not a bad way to go. So that then you are drawing strong shoulders where you have a natural place to hang your arms from, but not such a flat lower body, because it can be sort of confusing. You know, when I'm drawing like this, I might continue his legs up like that, whereas it's a little bit, doesn't feel totally natural. We have to kind of figure out what the balance is of how much hips to give our characters. Okay, coming over one more step. Now I would like to see you do that same square, but twice. So now we have a character with a long 2 square worth of rectangle body. Now we have kind of a funny looking character who has short arms and short legs, but this very long torso. And now from the middle, what was the basic height of the shoulders of circle and square, and is now sort of bottom of rib cage of long rectangle. At that point, I want you to do the whole thing again, where we draw a square and a square, because we're raising our character up. So now those legs are going to come down. Now this character's legs are as long as our first character's whole body was from the bottom of their neck to their feet. Up to same old round head. And twice as long of arms this time. They're holding hands. Love, sparkles, friendship. Okay. So now we're starting to build something. Now we're starting to build this more adult body. You know, if this is sort of the Mickey Mouse, Sonic the Hedgehog, Bart Simpson body frame, now we've got this taller guy. And we'll come one more over and kind of give it a little bit of the curvature that sort of not yet a circle and not yet a perfect rectangle, sort of a bit of a pill with wide curves but still has straight edges. So you can come down to your feet like so. They can hold hands. Love and friendship again. Now we're like building a family bumper sticker here. But this curved guy now, this does a lot for me. It still gives him a softness, right? We don't just want to be making characters out of boxes, right? Humans, animals, living things have organic shapes in them. So giving these curves, giving this paddedness kind of helps. And this guy right here, this guy or gal, is sort of my like ideal cartoon wireframe character. Let's move him over to a new sheet. Okay, from the ground up, we're doing a body long, basically twice as tall as it is wide. And we're doing, you know, I was doing those legs straight. I do think a little bit of a curve to your legs, never being too rigid in your lines for arms and legs, I think is a really good habit. But this is like our basic body form. This is more like an adult character. This is a great mold for Spider-Man or like a Bugs Bunny. Long torso implies a little bit more of a grown-up character shape. Let's see. What I want to do now is we have this new torso shape. We started out with just a plain old circle, and it's hard to do much with a plain old circle. I wanted to show you when I do work with that plain circle form, you know, if we're talking about a sphere looks more or less the same from any angle, right? No matter where you go, you know, if we turn it around some, you're still looking at a sphere. And one thing that I wanted to talk about is you can imagine if this is our profile, right? This is the side. You could imagine that you're doing something a little bit more like that, if that's the side, so that when you draw your 3/4 angle, it's not quite a circle. It has a little bit more closer to straight edges on it. And also the curve that you're drawing or imagining is going to straighten out more in the middle here. Same thing where it's like that. Because a perfect sphere is actually it's not super common of a shape. What you're more likely to see is something like that, or even more likely you see in profile something that's a little bit more like a gumdrop or a pear. So if this is still the side view there, whoops, I could have done yeah, I guess that is, my pictures are not in perfect order, forgive me. So that when you're drawing your 3/4, you might wind up something like this. So then your dividing line, when you're imagining that three-dimensional surface on the first, you're winding up with something much more like a gumdrop or a bean or a tooth, because those are more likely organic forms. What I want to show you now with the body shape is how to start using this to communicate. One thing that's really great is we have that shape, and you can take that shape and bend it. And now you know, keeping those legs going to the ground. But now you could put your arm up and over. We're doing, this is our same guy, but he's kind of doing a little bit of stretching. And it's hard to bend a circle, but when we have this body type, we can imagine it bending. This is really great for when you start doing more complicated pictures. You can kind of add lines like that into the clothing or the side because that's what our bodies actually do. I don't know how everyone else experiences this, but if I bend over hard to the side, like so, the side of my body kind of clumps up and becomes these, rolls or folds. And let's just try doing that. So, I want you to work on round, but you can also just do straight lines for right now. If this is your basic body and you're drawing there, try giving it a little, try doing the next one with a little bit of an angle. So you could go like that, or you could go really long, stretch over, and come down like that. But now you're imagining that this body is twisting, turning, bending. And when you've done, say, let's just do 3 of them. And then this one I'll do a really short angle like that. And then try and add the body parts. So add the head. Head's pretty easy to determine where it's going to go. It's going to come off the top. The neck is going to come out of the center of the body in general. Oops, he's going behind this other guy. And then give arms and legs. This one, I'll go like this. And all of a sudden I have a guy who's kind of maybe reaching for something, maybe jumping for something. This guy, it could have his arms out like so, and he could have this leg coming down and standing, and this leg up like that. Now he's maybe dodging a mouse. This other poor guy has his head in the first guy's butt. Maybe he's dodging a mouse there, and this guy could be putting arms up there. How's this going to work? What am I going to do for his leg? Like that and like that. Now I can make him swinging from a rope. Using this body, using a longer body and figuring out how to make it bend and crunch is a really good thing to learn. You can also, if we just have our basic guy and he's like so, you could also start to try and twist him. So say the legs are just the same. Now I want to kind of go like that. Still keep an arm out on each side. And that'll help me to, it just looks like an X right now, but if I know that it's still gonna kind of come around, I didn't do a great job. Let me see if I can try and show that better. Take that same body and twist it so that now, does that read to you like this is his back and this is his belly? So he's kind of turning in space here. And now we start to get into sort of interesting dynamic poses. You can start to, even just a little bit, imagine that, well, what if he was twisting to just like that much? Then we get our body down like that. And all I'm really suggesting to you is that once you're using this four-cornered shape for your body, you can create really interesting things. You can have him bending all the way over. Let's go down like that. Right now I could have him diving. I know this is that's not a like fantastic drawing, but I think you take my, I hope you take my point. I'm sure some people don't know what the heck I'm talking about. And some people are like, this is the most obvious thing in the world. And both reactions are okay. And the reason this is cool is that gives you action, and it also gives you expression. Underneath this slightly more complicated guy or gal with a pillow for a body is actually secretly still our classic stick figure, because that classic stick figure is built off of a spine, like so. And that spine is actually like kind of the determining factor in how we present in terms of our characteristics. So if you slump that spine a little bit, I'll draw him in sort of sideways here, and then the arms hang down, you start to have a character who might be a little bit more shy, sad, downcast, right? Keep that body there. Arms are coming down. Or you might have a character who is, that same spine is going to bend backwards, and now we'll have somebody who's like, unlimited power. So using that basic shape, let's see, I can kind of do it like this too. I'm sorry, over here. You know, bunched up shoulders, leaning down is a sign of sadness, submission. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about with getting further on these bodies is, okay, if you are drawing a cartoon and they are just existing on a flat plane like so, then drawing feet that you just draw coming straight off the ground and coming up to the body is absolutely fine, right? But we don't always just want to draw our characters in a flat two-dimensional original Mario Brothers world. We might want to draw them in a world where we can see more of the ground, a world where you might imagine that they're standing in a room like so, with a Stranger Things poster on the wall and a window and a dresser, right? If you want to imagine them in a space where there's a little bit of depth, then just drawing them with feet flat on the ground is still okay. But there is one trick that I want to suggest that really helps me, because feet flat on the ground is ultimately fairly boring. And what I'm going to suggest is that anytime you can see the ground, you imagine the perspective of it. So when I drew this ground, you know, you can tell it's a floor in depth because of that perspective point. And some of you may not know about perspective, but I suspect a lot of people do. The idea that when you're drawing, there's a vanishing point, and all of your lines that are straight are going to kind of go back towards that vanishing point. And when you are drawing your character and you can see the ground that they're standing on, I want you to think about their feet in a trapezoidal shape. So I've got my guy, and I've got his torso. I've got his arms, and then legs coming down. How am I going to draw the feet? Well, what I want to think about is where the two legs touch the ground, right at the heels, I want to do a line there. And then I can try and make those feet parallel, but oftentimes they're going to go actually out at an angle. So anytime I'm drawing a character, I kind of think about the trapezoid that makes up their footprint. So how both of their feet hit the ground. Sometimes I'll even start from that so that I create the trapezoid first. Think of it as their sort of floor plate. You know, if you think of them as an amoeba or something, how are they hitting the ground? It's just helpful for me because that helps me place them. That trapezoid tells me a lot of information about how they relate to their environment. Even if that's, you know, that might mean a character who's, you know, if one foot is further back from the other, then you might want to, you know, that'd suggest that the front foot will appear to be larger in perspective, so that then, oh boy, let's see. You can kind of think about it almost like a skateboard between their legs, between their feet, a skateboard that they're riding on. And it just helps to figure out, you know, now what does this imply? This implies that they're on a ground that's kind of angled like this. And just having a slight awareness of this is something that I don't expect you to totally understand on the first pass, but having that slight awareness of the plane that's created between their feet when they stand on the ground will help you figure out how to position them in your drawing, and it'll help you put them in the environment as opposed to just drawing feet and hoping that we assume that they're standing on the ground. Okay, just a couple of minutes left. I want to say thank you so much for being here. My name is Cartoon Ray. I teach these classes Tuesdays and Thursdays, although I'm going to be taking a break, a mid-semester break, next week. So next class will be our midterm, and I want to do a bit of homework review. And what I will say is anyone who has done homework, keep doing your homework. We're going to do some review. I'm going to talk about some of your homework. I will make selections from things that have been submitted on Thursday, and I will show you some work and give some feedback on some work. And then I'm going to take next week off. If you are just tuning in, be sure to follow the channel, and also check out my website, cartoonray.com/Cartoon Academy, where you can submit homework and see the YouTube link for the previous classes, and go to a class resources folder on that page where you can see the homework assignments and catch up on the whole class. Anyone who completes 75% of the homework of this class, to any degree, will receive a certificate from me at the end of the semester. There's no cost, there's no expectation, and the certificate won't actually help you accomplish anything other than feel good about it and be in my personal records as someone who completed the coursework for this, which, I don't know, maybe it's not so meaningless in the long run. Who knows? cartoonarray.com/Cartoon Academy. I don't know why I wrote it like that. So let's get questions and take some requests. Does anyone have questions? Oh yeah, the homework. Austin Baxter, love you, pal. Thanks for being here. Homework is, I want to see $20 bodies drawn like this. Start with the skinny, long rectangle shape. Draw just the arms and the legs and the head coming off of it, but give me some interesting poses. I don't want all feet flat on the ground. I want to see wacky. Try and challenge yourself. They don't have to be good drawings, But, you know, what happens if you try and make a character swinging? What happens if you try to mimic something you like? Here's Iron Man with little palm boosters. But give me some drawings in this basic style. What's another one I could do? Oh, running. But give me... Oh, this is like he's doing like a anime run. Both arms behind him, head way out. Give me 20 of these drawings. I owe you a homework review update sheet that I'll put in the Dropbox this afternoon.